Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Kev's Movie Corner. I am Kev, and this week we are talking about 1956 Western, The Searchers. Again, this movie came out in 1906. It is a Western adventure snippet from IMDb. Calls it an American Civil War. An American Civil War veteran embarks on a years-long journey to rescue his niece from the Comanches after the rest of his brother's family is massacred in a raid on their Texas farm. Stars John Wayne, Jeffrey Hunter, and Vera Miles, and is directed by John Ford. This movie is a Western. I'm not a big fan of Westerns. It was okay. Like, in my opinion, it was mostly okay. I know John Wayne is a massive name from, back in these days, but it's not really my type of movie. But it is, if you enjoy Westerns, for sure, it's a good movie. And it's not necessarily all about the Western. It's kind of it's a very big adventure, just kind of set in the West. There's not a lot of Western tropes, I don't feel like. Like, when I think of, like, a Clint Eastwood movie, walking into a saloon, stuff like that, there's not really a bunch of stuff like that. This is more of, it almost, when I first saw the synopsis for it on Amazon, it made me actually think of Taken with Liam Neeson. The whole idea of somebody being taken and somebody else coming after them. It's got the main plot, like I said, of John Wayne's character going after a Native American group who has kidnapped his niece and murdered the rest of his brother's family, or kidnapped his two nieces, actually. One of them he ends up finding dead. The other one, at the end, they end up finding alive and saving from the Native American group. I'm not gonna say it's not really a tribe, because it's only a small group of Native Americans. It is kind of one of those, back in the 50s, they very much portray these specific Native Americans as being, like, kind of bloodthirsty and things like that, which isn't, obviously the best thing in the world. Something like that probably wouldn't go too well today, but there's also a side plot with Jeffrey Hunter and Vera Miles characters being in love, and Jeffrey Hunter's character, Martin Pauly, keeps following John Wayne's character, Ethan Edwards, to find his sister, who is the one who was kidnapped, or his adoptive sister, I guess, kind of, and keeps leaving the love of his life behind, and she keeps getting mad, and there's kind of that whole side plot going on as well throughout the movie. It takes place over the course of, I think it's about I think they mentioned a couple times 5 years. So it's a very long time span, but they don't really explain that very well a lot of times. The first time I noticed it, they're just kind of riding through the desert looking for this girl, and all of a sudden it's snowing, which is just, it just cuts to another scene that it's snowing. It doesn't give you a time. It doesn't say anything. So you have to kind of listen to what they're saying to understand where you're at in time, because otherwise it's just a big old jumble of time. This is happening It seems to be happening while the Civil War is going on at the same time. It says Civil War veteran, but you have Union troops show up during it, so I'm not exactly sure if it's supposed to be during the war or after, because they also say that they're in Texas, and I don't ever see like a battle between Union and Confederate soldiers, or don't even see Confederate soldiers. They talk about being in several states, Texas, New Mexico, and stuff like that. So I'm not really exactly. I think it happens after the war, and the Union soldiers are just still around. Is kind of what it seems to be. But it's hard to for me to say. Yeah, so IMDb. This is on IMDb. This is a rated a 7.8 out of 10. Rotten Tomatoes gives it an 87%. So, I probably wouldn't rate it that high personally. This movie was originally number 96 on the AFI list, and when they did their 10th anniversary edition, it jumped to number 80, or it jumped 84 spots to number 12. So I probably wouldn't rate it that high. I'd probably give it like probably a 6, maybe 6.5. For me, it was above average, but it's not. Probably a 6, because it's not something I will probably ever go back and watch again, though that's partly me, because I'm not a fan of Westerns, like I said. Got some trivia on here. Oh, okay. So there is a point. Sorry, I didn't prepare very well for this, as you can tell. There is a point in this where Martin Pauly, Jeffrey Hunter's character, ends up. He thinks he's trading for a blanket. Or buying a blanket from a Native American tribe that they come across as they're looking for the what they would consider savages, probably the Comanches, and he ends up buying a wife instead. So she starts following them, and then he realizes, and John Wayne's character is kind of teasing him about it. But there's a point where she's, I guess, at one point. Between scenes, she was crying, and John Wayne went to ask her why, and she said she was going to miss her son's wedding because they were filming scenes at the time. So John Wayne stopped production for a few days and flew her to California so that she could attend the wedding, which is very, very, very nice, actually. Of course, I have always heard this. I didn't know this was John Wayne, and this is my bad because I'm not a Western person, and I'm sure people will yell at me you yell at me in the comments, I guess, if you actually comment. You'll yell at me in the comments for not knowing this. I didn't realize that this is where the comment "that'll be the day" comes from, which is John Wayne. I didn't know that's where this was from. So, but yeah, that is a very, very brief and not very great overview of the movie The Searchers. Number 12 on the AFI Top 100 list. I think that's about all I've got for you guys this week. Next week, I've got to the point where I'm just kind of going down the list, so of ones that we haven't hit, because I've kind of hit most of the ones that I know. I think I realize what they are, or have really wanted to see them. So we're just kind of going down the list at this time. Next one is going to be The General, which is number 18 on the AFI list. It was done in 1927. So we will talk about that next week. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment. Let me know if once we're done with this, if you guys want to hear any other movies. I've got a few ideas, but we'll see when we get there. Or if you guys just want me to quit, that's fine too. I probably won't, but you can tell me that. That's fine too. Yeah, don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, and I will talk to you guys next week.